Exodus 34. God is finally done playing a weird game of peekaboo with Moses. But remember 2 chapters ago when Moses came down from the mountain and saw everyone dancing naked around a golden calf and he broke the tablets with the 10 commandments? That means we're about to get a new set of commandments. But they're not a copy of the old ones. They're brand new. And they're even more messed up than the earlier ones. The Lord said to Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets which you broke. Be ready in the morning, and then come up on Mount Sinai. Present yourself to me there on top of the mountain. No one is to come with you or be seen anywhere on the mountain. Not even the flocks and herds may graze in front of the mountain." Did God just invite Moses to do a drug deal? Come to my place. Bring the goods. Don't let anyone see you. Why the secrecy? God doesn't even want the attendants halfway up the mountain. He wants Moses alone for some creepy reason, even though he's giving Moses something he's already given him before. And if God could write the words on the tablets, why did Moses have to do it before? There were so many words. If he had the opportunity to listen instead of do work, maybe Moses could have learned something. Actually, as you're going to find out later in this chapter, God isn't going to write the words on the new tablets at all. He's totally lying right now. Moses will still have to do the work. And they won't be the words that were on the first tablets either. God's lying about that too. Maybe you can all help me out here. When we get the new list of 10 commandments, will they still be commandments 1 through 10? Or would they technically be commandments 11 through 20? Because I think we've been numbering the commandments all wrong. So Moses chiseled out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and went up Mount Sinai early in the morning as the Lord had commanded him. And he carried the 2 stone tablets in his hands. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and stood there with him and proclaimed his name, the Lord. And he passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation. What the hell? Okay, first of all, why are we making Moses carry 2 stone tablets up a mountain? That seems like a lot of extra work. And how is he carrying 2 giant stone tablets up a mountain? I've hiked up a small mountain and I needed both hands free for balance and maybe a walking stick to help me out. I need to put away my phone to get up certain parts. There's no way I could have carried 2 giant tablets up a mountain. How is Moses doing this? Why is God still in the cloud? This is pointless. Anyway, what's with God's monologue here? He's not just announcing himself to an audience of 1, he's bragging. And lying too. I mean, he is not compassionate. He's killed so many people already. And he's not slow to anger because he's killed so many people already. He's definitely not forgiving wickedness or rebellion or sin because, well, you know. And then, as if we needed a reminder, God is telling us how petty he is, punishing the wicked and their children and their children's children. This would be a good time for Moses to throw those tablets down and run away. Moses bowed to the ground at once and worshipped. "Lord," he said, "if I have found favor in your eyes, then let the Lord go with us. Although this is a stiff-necked people, forgive our wickedness and our sin, and take us as your inheritance." The wrong person is apologizing. Way to throw all your people under the bus, Moses. I know we're all stiff-necked, wicked sinners, but we'll be your slaves. I speak for all of us, God. Then the Lord said, "I am making a covenant with you. Before all your people, I will do wonders never before done in any nation in all the world. The people you live among will see how awesome is the work that I, the Lord, will do for you. Obey what I command you today. I will drive out before you the Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Be careful not to make a treaty with those who live in the land where you are going, or they will be a snare among you. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Asherah poles. Do not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Wow, the jealous God is jealous. Full of wisdom, this book. It is amazing that God is telling Moses to vandalize the land he is taking everyone to. Not just destroy it, but specifically target their religious relics. God is commanding them to start a holy war. Be careful not to make a treaty with those who live in the land, for when they prostitute themselves to their gods and sacrifice to them, they will invite you, and you will eat their sacrifices. And when you choose some of their daughters as wives for your sons, and those daughters prostitute themselves to their gods, they will lead your sons to do the same. God's telling them not to marry into the enemy's families because assimilation would be awful. It is a religious purity test. God really is an Indian mother. And notice how he blames the women for ruining everything. Spoiler, this will be a running theme in Christianity. Do not make any idols. Yeah, dude, I think everyone figured that one out when you went ballistic over the golden calf. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days, eat bread made without yeast, as I commanded you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Aviv, for in that month you came out of Egypt. Keep in mind, this is the revised list of the 10 Commandments. These are supposed to be the most important rules of God, and one of them is no yeast, and none of them will be no slavery. It's interesting that this was one of God's many commandments before, but now he's elevating it to full-blown commandment. It is that important you don't eat yeast when you're not supposed to. The first offspring of every womb belongs to me, including all the firstborn males of your livestock, whether from herd or flock. Redeem the firstborn donkey with a lamb, but if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem all your firstborn sons. No one is to appear before me empty-handed. I know we've heard this before, but it is still effed up that God is obsessed with murdering lambs and donkeys. I guess we should be glad that God doesn't say, but if you do not redeem your firstborn son, break its neck too. 6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. Even during the plowing season and harvest, you must rest. The plowing season, also known as the time you have orgies at the bottom of a mountain. Okay, Sabbath day, got it. If Moses had a union, though, they could have at least fought for a 2-day weekend. Celebrate the Festival of Weeks with the first fruits of the wheat harvest and the Festival of Ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times a year, all your men are to appear before the sovereign Lord, the God of Israel. I will drive out nations before you and enlarge your territory, and no one will covet your land when you go up 3 times each year to appear before the Lord your God. 3 times a year. God needs an in-person ass-kissing 3 times a year. And just to make sure that happens, God lets them know no one's going to break into their homes when they come to praise him. Which kind of implies that during the rest of the year, their villages might totally be ransacked and pillaged. Do not offer the blood of a sacrifice to me, along with anything containing yeast, and do not let any of the sacrifice from the Passover festival remain until morning. Eat up! No blood! No yeast! Are you chiseling this in stone, Moses? Bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. I can't believe one of the new commandments is, when you're torturing a baby goat, don't use its mother's milk to do it. That's just gratuitous. Murder it any other way you'd like. How is that the priority here? Who was doing that so much that God needed to write a law to ban it? Was this a serious problem in those days? It's like the voter fraud law of its time. There's no evidence of it, but certain people insist it's a very big problem. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Write down these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel." Moses was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. This chapter just turned into some David Blaine stunt. Moses goes 40 days and nights without food or water. He's just chiseling down God's rules about baby goats and having so much fun that time just passes by. So he's labeling this the 10 Commandments. This is the real list then. But no one refers to these rules as the real commandments because they're mostly really stupid. And they're not that easy to number. There are way more than 10 unless you combine a few rules into one. But God's making it very clear that these rules supersede all those other rules we typically think about when we think of the commandments. Also amazing, thou shalt not kill didn't make the cut in this new list. The only commandment everyone agrees with is the one that did not get a renewal. In fact, only 2 of the original commandments carry over. The one about not working on the Sabbath and the one about no false idols. 2 of the least important rules are now 2 of the only rules that matter. We don't even have to honor thy father and mother anymore. And did you notice that Moses was writing these things on his tablets, not God? Because that's a contradiction from what God said earlier in this chapter. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the covenant law in his hands, he was not aware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them. So Aaron and all the leaders of the community came back to him, and he spoke to them. Afterward, all the Israelites came near him, and he gave them all the commands the Lord had given him on Mount Sinai. And I assume they all listened carefully and then said, "Wait, what? You've got to be kidding me. What did you say about a baby goat?" I love how they have to tell us repeatedly that Moses was radiant after seeing God, like this was an awesome first date. I mean, if I had to walk up and down a mountain with stone tablets and I hadn't eaten or drank anything in almost 6 weeks, I don't care who I'm out with. Radiant would be the wrong word. But you know what? The Bible is not done telling us how much Moses loved to be around God. When Moses finished speaking to them, he put a veil over his face. But whenever he entered the Lord's presence to speak with him, he removed the veil until he came out. And when he came out and told the Israelites what he had been commanded, they saw that his face was radiant. Then Moses would put the veil back over his face until he went in to speak with the Lord. Where did he get a veil from? Anyway, we get it. Moses is in love. That's one way to get us to ignore how the real 10 Commandments is way more screwed up than the original list. These are the commandments that are about to end up in the Ark of the Covenant. The baby goat milk list. You know what? I no longer oppose putting the 10 Commandments up in public schools. But only if it's this new list. Wouldn't you love to see these in a classroom? Thou shalt not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. It would turn kids into atheists so quickly.